Uh,
Good morning, Tamika. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, it's good to see you. How have you been since I saw you last?
No, I've been good. I've been good. Still working. Um, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, just hanging on in there, waiting to get to the end of semester, which is not far away. You can see the end.
Yeah.
Um, so for this final assessment, I'm just going to do a recording about an interview over Zoom, and I'm just going to be asking you some questions about your own personal experience and how they affect your interpersonal skills. So is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's going to be recorded, so I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, I'm fine.
Good stuff. All right, thanks. So I'll just get straight on into it if that's all right. So first of all, how does your own gender affect the way you use interpersonal skills?
Well, I feel that it's really difficult for me as a female to engage effectively with males. Um, and like I feel like I need to work a bit more to gain trust and to get a conversation as well. And sometimes also culturally too, like it's hard to engage with males and if it's even appropriate. So I think that's a little bit difficult for me. Obviously it's not the case for every male client, but it's like something that you have to I consider. Um, yeah.
So you mentioned the appropriateness of it, and that's stemming from cultural from culture. What
Yeah.
does that mean? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more, please?
Yeah. So with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, they are very different. But around males, from an Aboriginal culture where I'm from, sometimes it is disrespectful to even talk to a certain male or an older male, because they've got different hierarchy in their family. So it's kind of hard to gauge that sometimes. And obviously different Aboriginal people are from different tribes, so they've got different protocols and that kind of stuff. So, maybe for this family, it's okay to talk to the dad or the grandpa, but then with this family, it's not okay. And then sometimes you got to be mindful of making eye contact as well with older males in these families as well. So I think it's really hard to without researching the family, if you can, researching the family before engaging with them, or even asking the question, what protocols am I to follow while engaging?
So does that apply also to, you mentioned there different tribes and different families and so forth. Does that also apply to males who don't identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander?
I think, I think it would. I guess depending on the family and how they feel, I think. Yeah, I do come across with some non-Indigenous families with their males, they have that dominance. And I think that has a factor in it as well.
Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. I haven't come across that before, so that's new to me. Something I'll have to bear in mind. You mentioned eye contact there as well. How does that differ when you're talking over a Zoom conversation? Because eye contact is in a little way it's removed, isn't it? Because I'm looking at your eyes now on the screen, but not the camera. So I don't know what that's looking like. It's not real eye contact, is it? How does that affect you and your communication?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly that. And then with culture as well, like we kind of avoid doing screen. So we mostly do face to face because it's more respectful and you can engage more better than over the screen.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem or that we're all going to have to overcome, because screen communication is started to accelerate more and more, hasn't it, over the last few years? Very
Yeah.
interesting conundrum. So you also mentioned there how age is a factor, and when you speak to males, was I right in hearing that you said that if the male is an older person, there are more restrictions? Or sorry, I don't know how you worded it.
Yeah. So depending on where they are in their family, because I'm a younger female, sometimes I can't talk to the dad or the grandfather or an uncle, an older uncle in the family. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, all very, very interesting, and stuff that I don't know a great deal about. So I'm very grateful for you to share this information. So we mentioned culture, we've mentioned gender, we've mentioned a bit about age as well. How do you think your class affects the way you use your interpersonal skills?
I think so I'm very mindful of where I'm at in my life. So obviously I know that, some of the people that I do work with, I am in a better place. So I think being mindful of that and not kind of I don't know, like I'm very mindful of what I wear to work as well. Like, I don't wear expensive jewelry, or I don't try to wear, expensive clothes and things. Just so, I don't have that feel, that I'm better, that I'm higher or whatever.
It can sometimes signify like a power dynamic.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So I kind of be mindful of that as well, and kind of don't talk about these things either. Like, I don't talk about, oh yeah, like, I went to like an expensive getaway. Like, I don't talk about those things. Like I talk about things that, we might have in common, or mostly about culture or things like that.
Is that something that you're keenly aware of, or do you feel like that just comes subconsciously to you?
I think I learnt about it as I did my working experience. Like I think a few years ago, I think when I first started working in like the family support sector, it didn't come to my mind naturally. Like, and it wasn't until like I started working more and more with more complicated families that I was like, oh, and watching other social workers as well who's working with these families who weren't mindful of that and would wear all these expensive stuff, like, would have like the biggest gold change, and then they would talk about with their families like, oh yeah, like we just bought like this new, I don't know, this new $100,000 car, and and just seeing the reactions of the families, that are coming here for help, coming here for emergency food and housing because they can't afford these things. I was just thinking, well, that's a bit inappropriate. Like, like how's that making that family feel? So I think, from there, I kind of was more mindful of those things.
Do you think that you have a responsibility to model the desired behavior that you want from your clients, or that you want the best for them, of course?
Yeah, I want the best for them, but as well as like also being proud of my achievements as well, and kind of showing, you know, to my younger Indigenous families too, you know, that they can also go to university, or they can also upskill themselves. And, you know, like, I'm not doing it to show off or because, you know, I can or whatever. It's because, you know, I want what's better for me, obviously. You know, they can do it as well.
It's a really interesting fine line, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
To have to balance and have to tread. I agree completely with all that you said, and I don't really know. I think a lot of that ability to stay on that line is maybe unconscious, or it's something, you know, sometimes it's a skill that people have. And you know, if you've got that skill, then that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, you know, I think there's some people who automatically think like that too. So.
Yeah, nice. Good on you. And the other one, or I suppose we kind of touched on it then as well when talking about class, but as income as well. Is that very similar to the class element, or is there anything different you would say?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. I think, yeah.
Cool. What about life experiences? Is there anything that you've experienced in your life that has had a great effect on how you use interpersonal skills?
Yeah, I think I've experienced a lot of like racial and gender discrimination. So I you know, understand that, you know, the struggles that Indigenous people go through, especially in my community. Like, there's a lot of racism in Mackay. Like, I've actually not been able to get jobs because I do identify and proud of being Aboriginal. I've been turned away by a lot of jobs, and they're not shy about it either. Like, they'll tell you why you didn't get the job, and they'll be very honest in that aspect. Like, it's not okay. Like, you know, I've been asked once, you know, so you identify as being Aboriginal? I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, why do you want to work here? Don't you want to work somewhere that's like works with Black people? You know,
I remember you telling me that from the last time we spoke. That's
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I was like speechless at the time. I was like, I don't know why this is a question. Like, why does this matter? Like, shouldn't they be more inviting of First Nations people working at the organization, you know? So I understand that aspect, and also going to shops and, you know, being singled out of being searched and, you know, accused of stealing, and just being watched and stalked through stores as well. Like, you know, like, I've now had to like not take my bag into shops. Like, if I'm quickly going into Woolies, I don't take my bag because I've got that anxiety of, well, they're just going to pull me up and search my bag or accuse me of something. And like, you know, I've been observant where that's happened, and it's like, before me there was like 4 other white people that's gone through, and then they pulled me up, and then after me, you know, there's been other white people. It's like, well, what's going on there, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think with the gender as well, like, you know, I've been kind of looked down on, I think, and like, with my certain jobs that I have, like, I've had admin jobs and things like that, you know. I think I've had like males be, I don't know if this is relevant, but like, I've had males like, oh, that's not a hard job, you know, like all those kind of things. But
they all sound like pretty negative experiences. Do you think that they've had a negative or a positive effect on your social interaction skills, your interpersonal skills? Do you think they've potentially been beneficial, or is that not right for me to say that?
No, I think it's both negatives and positives. Like, positives because, you know, I can advocate better for, you know, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and know exactly how they feel in certain situations and know what to say in certain situations. But I think it's also a negative as well, because then I'm automatically going to walk into, I don't know, like a meeting or something with, you know, Indigenous families and like, say, a white clinician. And I'm automatically going to think, okay, well, they're going to be unfair or they're going to be discriminative, you know, instead of thinking not everyone's like that, you know? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Tamika. I think it's been really interesting conversation, really informative for me. I've learned a lot. But that pretty much brings me to the end of all my questions anyway. Is there anything that I've missed or you've missed that you would want to speak about, or?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all.
Great. You're happy with everything that was said today?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a good place to end the interview there. So thank you once again, and I'll see you again at some point in the future.
Thank you, Elliot.
Cheers, Tamika. Bye.
Bye.